What are some of the tension leaks that we experience? Adam talked about one of them as he was going through into the room, and he thought it was an animatronic. What was the leak that he thought?
His comfort zone barrier, the invisible barrier.
Okay, he kind of identified. He knew where the threat was. He saw the guy with the shovel, saw the animatronic, so he relaxed, right? Okay, I've had 3 different haunts that have used the same effect, all to different degrees of effectiveness. Let me describe them. In I think it was Colorado or Texas. In Texas, I think it was.
Say that in Texas.
I think it was in Texas. We went through a haunt that was well decorated, but it was really low tension. Okay? They had an effect where it was a Frankenstein monster on a slab. He was laid out behind a big plexiglass wall with chain link and everything. And as you walked past, a motion sensor triggered it, and the monster would flip up, boom, right up into the glass, and you'd walk past. The problem I had with that one, first of all, I'm walking by and I've got this big wall in front of me, and it comes up this way. This is a big solid wall, and I saw it, and it just popped up. So I've got a barrier in front of me. It's an animatronic. Nothing else happened at the same time. One thing happened. Okay? One thing happening at a time is like. Okay, what just happened there?
2 things happened at once. Wasn't prepared for it.
Okay. When 2 things happened, what did you do?
Freaked out.
Yeah, it was just a tennis ball, right?
Yeah.
When one thing happens, what do? Yeah. I was playing tennis last Wednesday with some young men in my ward, and the tennis, we were out there, we were playing doubles, and I was teaching them just the basics, and I had them all on the other side, and they were lobbing it, and I was standing right at the net, and I was returning everything. Okay? I was right at the net, and they'd fire them at me as hard as they could, and I'd just react very quickly. Just by accident, 2 of them, boom, boom, just lobbed 2 of them at one time, and I freaked out. I did this thing, ducked down there because I couldn't respond to 2 things at once. Okay? So one of the biggest tension leaks I see is anytime I'm in and there's only a single thing happening. Who was here last week? We had, just to describe it a little bit, we had a big guy just kind of being a bouncer, letting him into the coffin, and he was just yelling at us right up in our face. Okay? Now that by itself is intimidating, but not really, it's not enough. It's kind of like a fast serve, but I could react to it. I could process it. But then one of our actresses jumped out from behind, and it wasn't a big scare, but it was that second tennis ball, right? And just because she came out and did the rah, while I was focused on him, I couldn't process it fast enough to determine where the threat was coming from. Now if I do turn around and react to her, then he's got an opportunity to get me a second time, and now they can just start firing tennis balls at me, and I'll go into the fetal position, right? The one thing we do want to cover is we want to get some of you guys and just do a quick experiment. I want to show you something. I need another volunteer. I've had somebody that hasn't been up here before. Come up here.
At one point, they kind of all crowded at one time, and then you kind of lose attention because they're all there, and you're kind of like, okay, just get away from me.
Okay. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
At first, when they all came, they were all up at one time, it was kind of like, you felt kind of crowded, but then it was like, then they kind of built their own barrier, so nothing else could come at me. There was nothing else that
I noticed, that's why I was asking, because I noticed her actually relax her shoulders at one point. That's what I was watching. There's the signs of tension, and then there's a sign of relaxing, and that's what I noticed. I'm not sure how to use this analogy right, and if you'll please forgive me. A stripper?
That's right.
Everything's off it all.
Once everything's off, the show's over, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that show continue on? There's got to be a tease. There's got to be some expectation that there's still something left to go. Now, I apologize, but that's kind of what we're doing, is we're trying to always make sure that they anticipate something else. At the point of the gotcha, I've not really experimented too much, but usually we've got such tight spaces, we rarely use more than 2.
Oh yeah. Usually not a need for it.
This is my oldest son, Gavin. He's probably one of my best monster sandwiches, and I think our most effective, and you can experiment, and I want you to experiment, but just like we just found, I think, tell me, was that more effective with 2 than it was with 3?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the case. I think it's more effective with 2 than 1, and I think it's more effective with 2 than 3. Okay? Unless somehow that third one is spaced out. You know, if those 2 are coming out and then 1 lags back and you actually have a new 2.
Yeah.
So like the actors have
One last thing that I want you to remember when we're talking about the decoy. When you have, we talked about this last week, when you have a great big effect, or when you have something that you're drawing their attention, Gavin, we was talking about, he was down there where they could see him, right? And he slammed it down and he was in their face. The same thing with our big bouncer last week. I want you to always remember, the effect is not the effect. The effect is what you want them to look at. You ready to show them some magic?
No.
Who has a pen? Got to be a pen somewhere.
my jacket.
I got one right
I'm
here.
laying on it.
Everybody check your pockets.
Here's
Got
one.
it.
Oh, okay, you got
They'll get
more.
checked up there.
What else do you need? Who has a, how much money do you want to make? Should we make a quarter?
Everybody come on up here.
I don't know, he's just thinking about
And magical properties.
Oh, match the properties.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's got magical properties back there. I have a quarter. How much? But I can make this quarter disappear.
Yeah, that's what I
Pull it
just,
up.
don't mind me.
And he thinks you can stand back there being a little bit of a threat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this quarter disappear. And count to 1, 2, 3. Well, what time did my pen disappear? Okay, now it's actually in there. Now the real trick, I'll make it disappear in 1, 2, 3. Now it's a simple little trick. It works for little kids. It's a simple little magic trick. It just boils down magic into the basic fundamentals of misdirection. I'm looking at a quarter. He's going to look at a quarter. He's going to look at what I look at, what I tell him to look at. That's generally what you look at. You get them focused on one thing. Well, and in fact, we could have done something different and actually scared him, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to show you a magic trick over here, and so he's focused on me thinking I'm going to do a magic
We need
trick.
one more
And in
volunteer.
the back of his mind. Yeah, you have someone else real quick. And, you know, and he doesn't really know, okay, what are we doing? And there's a thread off to the side or back there, which wasn't supposed to be, but it certainly will work. And they see the big effect, and they think, that isn't really scary. You know, they walk in, but that's what they're going to look at. They're going to look at the big intimidating guy that's in their face. They're going to look at the giant monster. That's what they're going to look at. They're going to look at the, you know, whatever's the loudest noise, someone screaming. They're going to look at that. And then that allows us a perfect opportunity to do whatever we want with them.
Yeah, your goal is simply to control where they're looking, control what they're thinking about, control what they're expecting, and then take advantage of that. That's what we're trying to teach you. Okay, any thoughts or questions or comments? Thanks, guys.